In the vast expanse of the universe, countless species convene within the hallowed halls of the Galactic Assembly, a beacon of unity and cooperation among the stars. Yet, amid this tapestry of interstellar diplomacy, a singular decree casts a shadow over humanity's place within this cosmic council. Humans are uniquely forbidden from bearing arms within the Assembly's chambers. This prohibition, while seemingly straightforward, is deeply rooted in the tumultuous annals of human history, a history marked by resilience forged in the crucible of unimaginable horrors. The genesis of this decree can be traced back to a period on Earth known as the Third World War, a cataclysmic conflict that engulfed nations and reshaped the very fabric of human society. Cities that once stood as monuments to human achievement were reduced to smoldering ruins, their skylines marred by the skeletal remains of skyscrapers and the acrid scent of destruction lingering in the air. Amidst this devastation, stories emerged that encapsulated profound suffering and indomitable spirit of the human race. In one such city, now a desolate wasteland of crumbling infrastructure and silent streets, a young girl named Alara wandered through the remnants of her former life. Her once vibrant neighborhood was now a tableau of despair, with homes reduced to rubble and the echoes of laughter replaced by an eerie silence. Clutched in her dirt-streaked hands with a photograph, its edges singed and image faded. A family portrait capturing a moment of happiness now lost to the ravages of war. Alara's eyes, though weary from tears shed and horrors witnessed, burned with determination that belied her tender age. She was a testament to the countless innocents whose lives were irrevocably altered, yet who found within themselves a reservoir of strength to endure. The war's brutality was not confined to the destruction of infrastructure or the displacement of populations. It seeped into the very psyche of humanity. Soldiers on the front lines faced not only the physical perils of combat, but also the psychological torment of witnessing comrades fall and moral boundaries blur. The introduction of advanced weaponry, capable of unprecedented destruction, forced humanity to confront the abyss of its own making. The ethical quandaries posed by these instruments of war weighed heavily on the collective conscience, leading to a profound introspection about the path humanity had tread and the future it sought to forge. Emerging from the ashes of this global conflagration, humanity stood at a crossroads. The scars etched into the landscape were mirrored by those borne by its people, visible reminders of the cost of discord and the imperative of unity. It was during this period of reconstruction and reconciliation that humanity first reached out to the stars, seeking connection beyond the confines of the beleaguered planet. The Galactic Assembly, a consortium of diverse civilizations dedicated to mutual understanding and cooperation, extended an invitation to humanity, recognizing both the potential and the peril inherent in this fledgling member. Upon their induction, the Assembly deliberated extensively on the unique attributes and history of humanity, while acknowledging the remarkable resilience and ingenuity that had propelled humans from the brink of annihilation to interstellar diplomacy. There remained an undercurrent of apprehension. The chronicles of human conflict, particularly the recent scars of the Third World War, painted a portrait of a species both capable of profound compassion and devastating aggression. It was this duality that led to the enactment of the decree forbidding humans from carrying weapons within the Assembly's chambers, a symbolic measure aimed at fostering trust, while acknowledging the latent volatility perceived by their interstellar counterparts. This prohibition was not merely a safeguard, but also a gesture, encouraging humanity to exemplify its capacity for peace and diplomacy. For the humans, it served as a constant reminder of their own journey, a journey from the depths of self-inflicted suffering to the heights of unity and cooperation. It was an opportunity to demonstrate that the lessons gleaned from their harrowing past had indeed reshaped their ethos, prioritizing dialogue over discord, understanding over aggression. Within the Assembly, Ambassador Kalen became the embodiment of this new paradigm. His presence in the Grand Chamber, unarmed yet unwavering, symbolized humanity's commitment to this covenant of peace. Kalen's eloquence and empathy bridged cultural chasms, his words resonating with the collective aspirations of the Assembly. He often spoke of Earth's history not with shame, but with a candid acknowledgement of the trials endured and the growth that ensued. His narratives, rich with the tapestry of human experience, served to enlighten and caution, fostering a deeper understanding among the galactic delegates. Despite the initial reservations, humanity's conduct within the assembly began to shift perceptions. The very decree that set them apart became a testament to their transformation. Other species observed the humans' dedication to diplomacy, their ability to navigate complex interstellar relations without resorting to the crutch of armament. This approach not only diffused tensions, but also inspired a reevaluation of conflict resolution strategies among other member civilizations. Yet, the path was not devoid of challenges. Incidents arose that tested the mettle of this newfound philosophy. Threats from rogue factions, remnants of war-torn worlds, sought to exploit perceived weaknesses. In these moments, humanity's true evolution was laid bare. They responded not with a reflexive aggression of their past, but with measured, strategic actions that prioritized preservation of life and stability. Their resilience was now coupled with restraint, their strength tempered by wisdom. The decree, initially a symbol of mistrust, gradually morphed into a badge of honor. It signified a collective acknowledgement of humanity's journey, a journey from the precipice of self-destruction to the vanguard of interstellar diplomacy. The humans, once architects of their own near demise, had become harbingers of a peace hard-earned and deeply valued. In the grand tapestry of the Galactic Assembly, humanity's thread was unique, a vibrant strand woven with the hues of past tribulations and present aspirations. Their story served as both a cautionary tale and a beacon of hope, illustrating humanity's arrival on the galactic stage was not grand or celebrated. It was met with fear, suspicion, and endless caution. When humans first made contact with the Galactic Assembly, they didn't come with fleets of shining vessels or grand speeches of peace. They arrived in scarred ships, patched together, heavily armored, and weapons still warm from their brutal survival journey through hostile systems. Unlike other species who expanded peacefully, humans clawed their way into space through relentless war, starvation, and extinction-level events. Every inch they gained was soaked in loss. The galaxy watched a species that should have perished 1,000 times over stand unbroken at their doorstep. Human diplomats stood differently. They moved like predators dressed in diplomacy. Their eyes scanned every shadow, every detail in the grand chamber, like a species born into ambushes and betrayal. Other species lived long, peaceful histories of unity. Humanity's history was a violent catalog of betrayal, survival, and rebellion. The Assembly had seen violent species before, predators, conquerors, even warlike empires, but none like humans. Humanity fought wars not for conquest, but because they had no other choice. Their wars were for survival, for freedom, for vengeance, or to stop horrors from spreading beyond their world. The first diplomatic gathering featuring humans stunned the galaxy. Humans refused to enter unarmed. It wasn't arrogance. It was instinct. Generations upon generations of never letting their guard down. While the galaxy viewed this as barbaric, the humans viewed unarmed presence in a foreign council as suicide. The Assembly pleaded, threatened, negotiated, but humanity's representatives remained cold, unflinching, and fully armed. It wasn't long before the Assembly learned why. On a distant mining colony, pirates, not unknown in galactic space, attacked an outpost while Assembly forces delayed, debating protocols. Standard procedure involved negotiations, containment, or specialized security teams. But the human vessels responded differently. They landed amidst orbital fire, stormed the colony, and eliminated the threat within hours. The pirates didn't understand. They had encountered soldiers before, but not soldiers like these. Humans fought like creatures evolved in nightmares, with precision born from tragedy and ruthlessness honed in the fires of desperation. They didn't take prisoners when survival wasn't guaranteed. They didn't retreat because they didn't believe they could afford to. This horrified the Assembly. But for humans, this was normal. They didn't fight for glory. They fought like people who had already lost too much to lose again. Over time, other species noticed something else terrifying. Humanity adapted, faster than any species recorded in history. Humans learned alien languages, mastered foreign technologies, and weaponized concepts faster than the Assembly could regulate them. Their scientists could reverse engineer defensive fields into devastating offensive tools within months. Their soldiers learned to bypass security drones designed specifically to counter them. Their tacticians anticipated moves not through logic, but through the irrational, terrifying lens of human unpredictability. But what truly unnerved the assembly wasn't their strength. It was their unity under fire. Where other species would fracture, argue, or retreat, humans stood shoulder to shoulder. It was in their DNA. No human left behind. No surrender when allies still fought. The worst mistake enemies made was assuming humans fought for conquest. They fought for each other. Their loyalty wasn't the ground beneath their feet. It was to the person standing next to them. That bond, that terrifying human trait, turned battles into last stands. And last stands, in human history, often became victories. Galactic historians began whispering of Earth's ancient battles, the Alamo, Thermopylae, Stalingrad, names that resonated with impossible survival against overwhelming odds. When asked about these stories, human ambassadors responded with chilling honesty. We don't tell those stories because we lost. We tell them because we fought anyway. Then came the event that changed everything. A powerful mercenary species, the Thrask, underestimated humanity's resolve. During a trade dispute near the neutral assembly zone, the Thrask violated human diplomatic space, assuming the assembly's rules of unarmed negotiation protected them. But humans, though disarmed formally, carried memories sharper than any blade. When the attack came, human security forces unleashed centuries of silent, terrifying preparation. Hand-to-hand combat from a species raised on street fights, urban warfare, and guerrilla survival overwhelmed the Thrask. No weapons? Humans made weapons from environment, from instinct, from sheer will. It wasn't just strength. It was a refusal to die quietly. The assembly was forced to admit the truth they had ignored. Humans were terrifying not because of their weapons, but because weapons were never what made them dangerous. This shifted everything. Human representatives were called before the Assembly Council. The question was clear. Why, of all species, did humans refuse to surrender their arms? Their answer was hauntingly simple. We were the last species to disarm before invasion, the last to lower weapons before betrayal, the last to trust words over action. And we paid for that trust in blood. They explained Earth's own history, of treaties broken, genocides hidden beneath diplomacy, and peace offerings answered with violence. They bore scars invisible to other species, scars of a world that learned too late that not all voices seeking peace came without knives behind their backs. And so, the Assembly, desperate to maintain their illusion of control, passed a decree. Humans are forbidden from bearing arms within the Assembly. On paper, it was a law. In reality, it was a warning, not to humanity, but to everyone else. Because if the galaxy ever saw humans lay down their weapons willingly, if they ever entered truly unarmed, it would mean only one thing. Humanity didn't need weapons anymore, and that terrified everyone. Humans refused to enter the Galactic Assembly unarmed. The demand that all species disarm before entering the assembly chamber was an ancient tradition of trust among civilizations, a symbol of peace and respect. But for humans, trust was never given lightly. It was earned through action, not ceremony. Their refusal wasn't arrogance. It was instinct, born from a history soaked in betrayal. The assembly was stunned. No species had ever outright refused before. But humans were not like any species the galaxy had seen. Debates raged for months. Human representatives explained their position with a blunt honesty that unsettled the council. They spoke of ambushes at peace talks, assassinations disguised as diplomacy, and treaties broken before the ink dried. Their position was clear. They did not feel safe. The assembly saw this as paranoia, but humanity saw it as preparation. As months turned into years, tension simmered. Humans attended sessions, but always stationed heavily armed guards outside. Their ships in orbit remained fully armed, their security systems online, scanners sweeping for treachery that never came. Other species watched in confusion, sometimes anger, but always with a small kernel of understanding. Because humans didn't threaten anyone, they simply never let their guard down. The situation escalated when a minor species, desperate for attention and power, attempted what no one believed possible. An assassination attempt on a human diplomat within the assembly itself. Tiny insectoid creatures from a lesser-known system had smuggled in a weapon, hiding it within their biological structure, undetectable by standard scans. They believed killing a human envoy would prove their strength and gain recognition. They had no idea what they had unleashed. The attack failed, not because the Assembly's security was flawless, but because humans were prepared for betrayal even in a place of peace. The human diplomat survived by sheer instinct, defensive moves honed from 1,000 years of violence. Within seconds, hidden human security forces breached the chamber, not with blasters raised in conquest, but with terrifying precision aimed solely at protecting their own. The Assembly was horrified, not by the failed assassination, but by the response. The human guards had infiltrated the chamber without being detected by the galaxy's most advanced security systems. No alarms, no warnings. Their technology was primitive by galactic standards, but their strategies were brutally effective. It was no longer about the weapons they carried. It was about the weapons they were. Investigations began immediately. The failed assassins were arrested, their government sanctioned. But the real question lingered like a shadow. How had humans bypassed the Assembly's most sacred rule without detection? Their ships were monitored. Their gear was scanned. Their people were searched. The truth came slowly, and when it arrived, it shook the foundation of galactic diplomacy. Humans didn't rely on their weapons alone. Humans were the weapons. Their bodies had been altered by their history of survival, their instincts sharpened by centuries of warfare. Micro-exoskeletons beneath clothing, woven into fabric, adapted materials that turned civilian wear into armor, muscle reflex training passed down from military generations, neural interfaces allowing instant communication with nearby forces. Every human envoy was a soldier first, diplomat second. The Assembly realized, perhaps too late, that their disarmament laws were designed for species who never knew true extinction, for species who evolved in peace. Humanity evolved in nightmares. But humans hadn't broken the rules. Technically, they hadn't smuggled in any weapons. They were simply prepared to survive in any scenario. The entire Assembly came to an uneasy understanding that weapons didn't define humanity's danger. It was their mindset. In response, a controversial vote was called. Should humans be banned entirely? Should they be forced to comply or face sanctions? The galaxy debated fiercely, but then a new voice rose among them, a leader from one of the oldest races, known for their wisdom and neutrality. They had watched humanity carefully, studying their behavior, understanding their pain. They argued against punishment. Instead, they proposed a terrifying truth. Humanity wasn't dangerous because of their weapons. Humanity was dangerous because of their compassion for their own. Other species fought for resources, power, or territory. Humans fought for each other. Their survival instincts weren't just individual. They were tribal, familial, emotional. They fought like wolves defending their pack, like parents defending their children, like survivors clinging to hope in a dying world. Banning their weapons wouldn't change their nature. Forcing them to disarm wouldn't erase their history. Instead, the Assembly passed a new ruling. Humans would remain part of Council, their right to carry weapons within Assembly grounds permanently revoked not as punishment, but as acknowledgement. Humans didn't need weapons to be the deadliest species in the room. Their love for each other made them terrifying beyond comprehension. The new law would stand, not out of fear of humanity's technology, but out of profound respect for their nature. To allow humans to carry weapons was redundant, because the true weapon of humanity was humanity itself. The assassination attempt changed everything. It was swift, calculated, and completely unexpected by the Galactic Assembly, except for the humans. The aggressor species, driven by jealousy and fear of humanity's rising influence, believed they could remove the human delegates without consequences. They misunderstood humanity on a fundamental level. They saw humans as dangerous because of their weapons. What they failed to understand was that humanity itself was the weapon. The moment the attempt was made, the Assembly chamber descended into chaos. But the humans didn't panic. Their instincts, sharpened over millennia of surviving on a death world, activated immediately. Without a single conventional weapon in hand, the human representatives neutralized the threat in seconds. The attacking forces were met not with plasma or lasers, but with terrifying precision, unarmed combat skills that looked more like predatory violence than self-defense, and brutal efficiency that horrified every species present. In the aftermath, There was stunned silence. No alarms had saved the day. No security systems had responded fast enough. It had been the humans alone. The ones who had been forbidden from carrying weapons had become living proof that the Assembly's laws were naive. They had underestimated what survival on Earth truly meant. For humans, the weapon was never the tool. It was the mind, the body, and the unbreakable will to endure and fight back, no matter the cost. Galactic leaders now faced a sobering reality. Their long-held belief that banning weapons guaranteed safety crumbled under the weight of human history. Humanity didn't rely on weapons the way other species did. On Earth, tools failed. Ammunition ran out. Enemies adapted. What remained was raw determination and an ability to turn absolutely anything into an advantage or a weapon. The aggressor species faced severe consequences from the Assembly, but the greater impact was psychological. The story of what happened spread to the galaxy like wildfire. Species began to view humans not just as dangerous, but as unstoppable. They were seen as terrifying not because of their technology, but because of their refusal to submit to fear. Humanity's paranoia had been justified. Their caution had saved lives, even those of their enemies. But what followed was even more remarkable. The humans didn't demand revenge. They didn't retaliate with war fleets or threats. Instead, they addressed the Assembly in a speech that would be remembered for generations. They spoke of Earth, of a world that had taught them to never trust blindly, but also to never abandon hope for peace. They explained that their desire to carry weapons had never been about domination, but about responsibility. Humans carried weapons because they carried memories of loss, betrayal, genocide, and the fragile price of peace. They didn't ask the Assembly to change its laws. They simply said this: "We do not carry weapons because we fear others. We carry them because we know what happens when good people are unprepared for evil." That sentence echoed across worlds. But even with their composure and grace, the galaxy's perception of humans changed forever. Whispers began in the darkest corners of the universe. Rumors spread among warlords, pirates, and ancient species who had once ruled through fear. The message was simple. Humanity was the last species you wanted as an enemy, and the first species you wanted beside you when everything went wrong. Galactic security policies began to change, not because of laws or treaties, but because of respect earned through action. Some species began asking humans to train their own security forces. Others started adopting human methods of readiness. A few, the wisest among them, began to see humanity not as a threat, but as a lesson. This shift in perception also changed internal politics within the Assembly. There were those who still feared humans, believing their presence to be a powder keg waiting for a spark. But more and more species began to view humanity's approach not as paranoia, but as wisdom carved out of suffering. For the humans, life in the Assembly continued. They remained cautious, guarded, and relentlessly prepared. But they also became something no one had expected. Protectors. Smaller species who had once feared them now sought their counsel. Victims of oppression found in humans an unlikely ally. They had walked through fire, and in doing so, had become a shield against darkness. Yet despite all of this, the rule remained unchanged. Humans were still forbidden from carrying weapons within the Galactic Assembly, but it no longer mattered. The entire galaxy now understood a truth more terrifying than any weapon. Humans didn't need them. They were the weapon. And every species, friend or foe, would never forget that moment when unarmed humans had stood against violence. Not as victims, but as the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. This understanding would forever shape humanity's place in the universe. They were not conquerors. They were not monsters. They were survivors, guardians of peace forged in the crucible of chaos. And in the silent, wary respect that followed, the galaxy realized one thing above all else. You can take the weapon from the human, but you can never take the human out of the weapon. The Galactic Assembly's decision to forbid humans from carrying weapons within its chambers was a decree steeped in both caution and respect. However, this mandate did not deter humanity's influence. Instead, it underscored a profound truth recognized by all. Humans themselves were the embodiment of resilience and determination. Their history, marked by relentless survival against insurmountable odds, had sculpted a species whose mere presence commanded attention and deference. In the aftermath of the assassination attempt, the assembly observed a notable shift in interspecies dynamics. Delegations that once viewed humans with skepticism now sought their counsel, eager to understand the depth of their fortitude. It became evident that humanity's strength did not solely reside in their technological advancements or martial prowess, but in their unwavering commitment to their principles and allies. This realization fostered an environment where humans were not just participants in galactic politics, but pivotal figures whose insights were invaluable. Humanity's approach to diplomacy was characterized by a unique blend of pragmatism and empathy. They understood the intricacies of interstellar relations, recognizing that true alliances were built on mutual respect and understanding. This perspective allowed them to mediate conflicts, offering solutions that were both equitable and sustainable. Their ability to empathize with the struggles of other species, stemming from their own tumultuous history, made them adept at bridging divides that once seemed insurmountable. The cultural contributions of humans further enriched the galactic tapestry. Their art, literature, and music introduced new dimensions of expression, resonating with species across the cosmos. These cultural exchanges fostered a deeper appreciation of human experiences, highlighting themes of perseverance, love, and hope that were universally relatable. Through these mediums, humanity conveyed the essence of their spirit, leaving an indelible mark on the collective consciousness of the assembly. Economically, humans demonstrated an unparalleled adaptability. Their ventures into trade and commerce were marked by innovation and a keen understanding of market dynamics. They introduced agricultural practices that thrived on diverse planets, shared technological advancements that spurred industrial growth, and established trade routes that connected distant worlds. This economic vitality not only benefited humanity, but also contributed to the prosperity of the entire assembly. Yet, amidst these contributions, humanity remained vigilant. The scars of their past served as constant reminders of the fragility of peace. They continued to advocate for preparedness, emphasizing that while diplomacy was the preferred path, one must always be ready to defend against unforeseen threats. This philosophy, though sometimes viewed as cautious, was respected, for it was rooted in experiences that many could scarcely comprehend. The decree that forbade humans from bearing arms within the assembly chamber stood as a testament to the complex relationship between humanity and the other species. It was not merely a restriction, but an acknowledgement of the profound impact humans had on the galactic stage. Their presence alone was a reminder of the strength that came from unity, the power of resilience, and the enduring spirit of a species that had faced oblivion and emerged stronger. In time, the narrative surrounding humanity transformed. No longer were they seen solely through the lens of their past conflicts or their capacity for warfare. Instead, they were recognized for their contributions to peace, their cultural richness, and their unwavering dedication to the ideals of the assembly. The initial fear that had prompted the weapon ban gave way to a deep-seated respect, as it became clear that humanity's true power lay not in their armaments, but in their hearts and minds. As the assembly moved forward, the lessons imparted by humanity remained ever present. They served as a reminder that strength was multifaceted, encompassing not just the ability to wield weapons, but the courage to seek peace, the wisdom to understand others, and the resilience to stand firm in the face of adversity. Humanity's journey from a species viewed with apprehension to one held in high esteem was a testament to their enduring spirit and the indomitable will that defined them. In the grand halls of the Galactic Assembly, where decisions that shaped the fate of countless worlds were made, the presence of humanity stood as a beacon that illuminated the path toward a future where unity was forged through understanding, and peace was achieved not by the absence of conflict, but by the presence of unwavering resolve and mutual respect.